welcome to Half the Battle, and welcome back, my friends, to Cobra Convergence. The theme this year is underappreciated toys. And you know what? All those mini playsets, they really don't get enough love. That's why today I'm gonna be talking about my favorite one. Meet the Cobra Bunker. This toy was released in 1985 with all original parts. And there's a surprising number of parts, but we'll get to that later. First, we talk about how this thing looks. And it looks awesome! There's a lot to like here, but the best part is the large Cobra logo that's beautifully molded in the center. There have been a few instances of Cobra logos being molded in the plastic instead of being stickers, like the hubcaps on the Stun for example, but the one on the bunker is my favorite of the lot. A nice touch is that the rest of the bunker surface isn't flat. The lines make it look like it's made of bricks. Now that's simple but effective detailing. Speaking of detailing, this little thing actually comes with a base. It's a big grey rocky surface with lots of bigger rocks on it. It's a pretty cool enhancement, and I don't think any other battle station came with something like this. And all that is just from looking at the front. When you turn it around, well, you find out it's only half a bunker. That's sort of a letdown. But I guess it's also understandable from a play value perspective. I mean, a completely sealed bunker would just sit there. Inside, we see that the machine guns have handles on them for added interaction. These guns have a fair bit of movement, but not a 180-degree arc like you would expect. The inside is just as awesome as the outside though. The base goes from looking rocky to a smooth metal surface for figures to stand on. It even has a molded-in ammo crate. The best part of the inside has to be the decal stickers. You've got a radio with next to it a monitor showing the map of the battlefield. And front and center, there's a sticker of 4 monitors showing pictures of a current battlefield situation. You've got Scarlet and what I think is Mutt raising their arms in that G.I.Joe way, a gun that may be the 1982 HAL laser, and a Cobra Fang helicopter. Putting that all together, it looks like the Joes are starting their assault and are gonna blow that Fang out of the sky. This little sticker takes the term mini-comic to a whole new level. Speaking of stickers, I forgot to mention one. It's on the front of the toy, and it's just the word Cobra. Like it wasn't already freaking obvious who this thing belonged to. Now, being such a small playset, it didn't come with an action figure. It did, however, come with accessories. Now, yes, normally you'd only consider stuff that comes with a figure accessories, but this bunker totally had its own. And it's friggin' sweet! The Cobra bunker came with an awesome looking missile and stand/launcher, and this thing does have Cobra sigil decals. It looks great and is appropriate for the main toy, as a bunker would be very vulnerable to attacks from the air, which this rocket could deal with. Overall, this is a pretty damn sweet package and I love it. But does that mean it's perfect? Sadly, no. There are quite a few flaws, and I'll go over them now. First of all, like I said, this really is only half a bunker. Now, everybody collects toys in their own way. For example, some people are happy to just have one Viper in their collection. Others may prefer a small squad. Still others, like me, are taken by the madness and want them all the ones in the world. What I mean to say is, everybody collects in their own way, and every way is valid. For the Cobra bunker though, I really recommend you get 2. That way you can put them together to form a complete one. Hell, even 3djoes.com displays them like this on the site. It's not a perfect fit, even if you match up the halves as best you can, as you'll still always have a gap at the top, due to the way the roof is made. But it still looks pretty damn nice. Back to being negative! The machine guns don't fit very snugly in their slots, so they wobble around. And the pegs that hold them in place are easy to break, making the guns loose, so they're also easy to lose. Speaking of easy to lose, remember that missile? If you thought you'd only have to worry about losing the launcher or the rocket itself... Oh, you sweet summer child! This setup actually has 5 parts. The missile splits in 3 and the launcher has 2 parts itself. So finding a complete Cobra bunker can be a bit of a challenge. And now we come to this toy's biggest flaw, which, ironically enough, is also a play feature. You know how there are toys that say some assembly required on the package? This thing literally has all the assembly required! Not counting the base and guns, the bunker comes in 4 parts you have to put together. The centerpiece with the Cobra logo, a left and right piece, and the roof, making this thing a primitive early version of those 3D puzzles, really. There's a reason for this, of course. Kids could take parts off the structure to simulate battle damage, but it does mean it doesn't look as firmly put together as if it was all one piece. You'll practically always have gaps between the parts. Hell, even on the back of the packaging, which is supposed to be a perfect representation of the toy, you can see gaps. And believe me, this thing can be a pain in the ass to put together so that all the pieces fit properly. And I, of course, have to do this a bunch of times to make this review. It can be an exercise in frustration, and I imagine many a bunker was thrown against a wall in anger by a kid in the 80s. The last negative thing I want to mention is that the toy really should have been about 10% bigger. As it is, one figure can barely stand up inside it, assuming you place it in the very middle. Anywhere else and they're ducking or crouching. I don't know if this was intentional, as it does give the place a more claustrophobic feel. Still, even with all those flaws I just mentioned, I still think this is a pretty great toy, and considering it originally retailed for less than $3, it was an awesome addition to any kid's playtime for very cheap. And that was the only toy the bunker ever got. Some of these battle stations were remade in modern times, but sadly not the bunker. So with that, it's time to move on to the, character without a file card, obviously, since having a file card for a bunker would be incredibly stupid. There is the back of the box though, which we can look at courtesy of 3djoes.com. It says this bunker has some of Cobra's most sophisticated technology in their weapons arsenal. It has 2 machine guns. Well, I guess they could be talking about the missile, but that really isn't part of the bunker. Come to think of it, how heavy would that thing be? If they're retreating, could they just lug it around with them? Speaking of the back of the box, did you notice anything? The toy is quite different from the photo here. On the box, the middle piece has a slightly different shaped Cobra symbol, and the piece itself isn't rectangular, but rather a triangle, with the other 2 pieces forming the bottom it rests on. This isn't that uncommon, as toy packaging often contains the prototype pictures of the toy, not the finished product. The most famous example of this is probably the 1997 Stars and Stripes set, which looked almost nothing like the actual figures we got. Honestly, I prefer the construction of the prototype. Removing the centerpiece on that would look like more realistic battle damage. I can understand why it was changed though, as this configuration would be even more unstable to put together. Since I'm taking stuff from 3djoes.com, I might as well talk about the box art. It's great, as was usual with G.I.Joe art in the 80s, with Destro and a Crimson Guard standing not in, but next to the bunker. The only thing I would have added is the machine guns firing. As far as appearances in other media go, well, the Cobra bunker didn't appear in the comics or the cartoon. Except it sorta did. Technically, it appears in every single episode of the 2nd season of the Sunbow cartoon, as it can be very briefly seen in the opening credits, though it's grey, not blue, with a red Cobra symbol. But it doesn't show up in any story, just the opening credits. And we have seen a few bunkers in the comic, but none that looked like this toy. The bunker did get part of a commercial dedicated to it, but no animation. It had kids imagining they were G.I.Joe sized, or that the toys were life-sized. It was weird. And that was the Cobra bunker. Overall, it's an excellent playset, though it is high maintenance. The reason I picked this for Cobra Convergence is because it's my favorite battle station, and I rarely see people talk about it, so I sure think it's underappreciated. I can't recommend this toy enough. In fact, buy two. Just make sure they're complete. I'll see you next time, everybody! And hey, why not like, share, and subscribe if that's your thing? Hey, welcome to Half the Battle! Meet the G.I.Joe Law! Or Laser Artillery Weapon. This toy was released in 1986 with all original parts. It consists of three major parts: the base itself, the gun, and the claw that holds the gun in place. Technically, the seat and computer console can be separated from the base, but they're put in so tight, you should just consider them part of it. So, just having three large parts, it would be pretty easy to find one of these complete on the secondary market. And it would be, except for one thing. The little tip on the gun is actually removable. There's a circumcision joke in there somewhere, but this show is far too classy to go look for it. You can do that yourself. But yeah, if that's gone, good luck finding one again. Now, to be fair, it is on there pretty tight, so you'd have to deliberately remove it. The thing won't just fall off, so you are slightly more likely to find this toy with all parts instead of 90% complete, as eBay sellers are so fond of putting in their descriptions. The gun can rotate 360 degrees and can move up and down about 90 degrees. And these are the only moving parts on the toy, so that's the only added play value. The law... Gah, that's just gonna keep happening, isn't it? Damn review-averse! The laser artillery weapon has a metric crap ton of fine detailing in the molds. Canisters on the main body, hoses and what have you. Plus a fair bit of sculpting on the gun itself. You can say a lot about Hasbro, and we have, but they didn't skimp on the details when it came to these battle stations. I'm also fond of the color scheme. Dark gray and green, real military-looking stuff. I always approve of that. It really mixes a futuristic look with realism very well. The decals are also nice, especially the monitors on the control station. Assuming you managed to put them up straight, as whoever first owned this one certainly didn't. Overall, this is a very cool-looking playset with a nice bit of play value. It's definitely another winner for the battle stations. Now, the law... Damn it! This thing is one of the few battle stations that did get other toys in the modern era. The first was in 2009 as part of the Rise of Cobra line and was a Walmart exclusive. It came with two figures, versions of Hawk and Grand Slam. It looks pretty close to the original. The third and final version was the Cobra Law. Cobra la 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 la. Okay, that's even more annoying! Yeah, the thing switched sides and now works for Cobra. It was a 2017 convention exclusive and looks pretty neat, except for the gun tip. Having that in blue just looks stupid. Can't say much more about these as I don't own them. I did look to buy them online, but looking at the prices, screw that! With that, it's time to look at the character without a file card. And cue the freeze frame gag. Yeah, it's pretty much mandatory at this point. First, let's talk about the name. It's called a laser artillery weapon, which is weird. Artillery usually fires in an arc, something a laser beam generally doesn't do. Though, yes, artillery has been known to shoot straight ahead. Still, a laser seems inefficient. So I thought maybe they meant it's a laser-guided artillery. And here we run into a bit of a problem, since the toy's packaging and the inserts contradict each other. The blueprints call the gun a laser, but the artwork on the box clearly shows the thing firing like a regular cannon. That's why I took the little half ball next to the big barrel to be the laser guidance device, but the blueprints call it an infrared heat sensor. Honestly, I'd say it's up to you on how you want to look at this thing. The law... damn it!
This thing never showed up in the comics, and most of the battle stations and small playsets were never featured in episodes of the cartoon.
Except for this one. Though I have to admit saying it's featured is stretching the definition a bit beyond its breaking point.
A bunch of laser artillery weapons can be seen for a few seconds in the miniseries Arise Serpentor Arise. It's a blink and you'll miss it moment. Still, it's pretty neat they went through the trouble of modeling the toy instead of going for generic guns.
And that's about all I have to say about the law. Phew. Overall...
I am the law!
Damn it!
Overall, it's a great little playset that's still cheap to find on the secondary market, complete and all, so I recommend you pick one up.
Well, just a quick heads up before I go, there won't be a video next week as I'm gonna be on vacation. So, I'll see you in 2 weeks, everybody, and hey, why not like, share and subscribe if that's your thing? Hey, welcome to Half the Battle.
I'm back from vacation and we're continuing our look at small vehicles and playsets.
And today, I've got one that I have a weird history with.
Meet the Weapon Transport. This vehicle was released in 1985 with all original parts. Well, in the USA anyway, not in Belgium.
This is what I mean by weird history.
You see, this toy never came out here at retail. It did, however, come out as a mail order from the G.I.Joe Club, Hasbro Europe's mail order service. So, for years and years, I thought they made this little vehicle specifically for mail order, like Hooded Cobra Commander and other toys. It wasn't until I started getting into collecting and the internet got invented that I found out this had just been a retail toy originally. I have to say, it did make the Weapon Transport a little less special in my eyes. But let's put that aside and look at the thing objectively.
Well, as objectively as I get anyway.
And this is kinda a strange little vehicle. It's not a combat vehicle, yet it has a gun. It comes with a little trailer that has a bomb, but it's not called a bomb transport. Instead, it's the more generic weapon transport. It looks like it should just be used at an airstrip arming Sky Strikers or Conquests.
The thing looks a bit goofy, but not in an unrealistic way.
You could definitely picture this in the real-life military, though probably without the gun. Another bit of weirdness are the pegs that connect the transport to the little trailer. There's one on the back, which seems logical, but also one on the front. To, what, push a bomb? By the way, these pegs are about the size of the ones used on figure stands and other vehicles to hold figures, so you could use them like that to balance Joes on there, though it looks weird as hell. Oh, and the trailer has a peg of its own, so if you had more than one, you could make a little train. I'm guessing these extra pegs were there because maybe they had planned to make more trailers with other vehicles that made use of them, so you could swap them out or make those little trains.
But as far as I know, this is the only toy that used them.
There's also a peg on the top of the thing for some damn reason to add to the weirdness. All this invokes is the Joes having a really drunk dance party on the thing. And it's not exactly the kind of vehicle they'd storm into battle with. I mean, they could, but I'd still leave the bomb at home in that case. That's just too juicy a target. Since, like I said, it's strictly a support vehicle for on base, I could see it helping defend the base in case of attack, but still without the bomb. Unless there's an opportunity to roll the trailer down a hill at Cobra. Like with the battle stations we've looked at earlier, the detailing isn't lacking on this small toy either. Lots of little things are molded into the plastic, it even has a little gearbox. The stickers are nice too, headlights, red and white warning strips, they all really add to the look.
Unfortunately, even for such a small toy, there's plenty of parts that can get lost, and so making it a pain in the ass to find complete on the secondary market.
The most obvious thing, of course, is the little trailer and bomb. A bomb that is itself removable, by the way, so that's double trouble. though it is nice the bomb has an opening so that you can actually attach it to G.I. Joe planes. Next is the gun, which is surprisingly also removable. On the one hand, that's good since a figure can hold it. On the other hand, that's bad since it will get lost that way. Even more surprising, the steering wheel is removable, probably because that way it can actually move. Does make it very easy to lose though.
Lastly, there's something you can't see here because I don't freaking have it.
An antenna. This seems to be the most easy to lose, as I've never seen one on the secondary market, and I'm not even convinced my original mail-order one from childhood came with one. So yeah, the weapon transport can be a frustrating little bastard for collectors.
My overall opinion on this toy, it's, alright.
I mean, it looks fine in the background of dioramas, or under a plane on your shelf, but it wouldn't make or break any collection.
With that, let's go to the freeze frame gag and discuss the character. Though you're not gonna be getting much.
Since I never saw this thing in the cartoon or comics, that really only leaves us with the packaging. It has blowtorch driving it for some reason. Doesn't seem to be the safest choice, having the guy that sets things on fire drive a bomb somewhere. Also, the back shows an action scene. The transport is driving into battle, firing its gun, with the little trailer worryingly wobbling behind.
The Joes have never heard of OSHA, have they?
I was assuming this scene was one of those defend the base scenarios, but the back of the box quickly punishes my optimism. It happily clarifies that the weapon transport is supposed to drive off into the field to help set up defenses against Cobra. So yes, this thing is meant to Leroy Jenkins its way into battle. One could be forgiven for wondering how a single bomb that's obviously meant for an aircraft would contribute to field defenses against Cobra in any shape or form. No wonder Blowtorch looks so pissed here.
If you want my conclusion of the character, it's somewhat flawed.
And that was the weapon transport. As a toy, it's, okay, I suppose. Nothing special. While in universe, it's somewhat confusing. You might want this in your collection as part of the background or something, but I wouldn't go out of my way to look for it, and definitely don't spend too much money on this one. And also remember, getting a complete one is gonna be a bit of a challenge.
I'll see you next time, everybody, and hey, why not like, share, and subscribe if that's your thing? Hey, welcome to Half the Battle. Let's talk about Devastator.
He was the first Gestalt or Combiner robot in the Transformers line. 6 robots, the Constructicons, combined to form this monster of a Decepticon. Sure, other Combiner robots would follow, quite a few of them in fact, and there would be bigger Transformers, both in the toy line and the canon. But Devastator was the first and most iconic. He is fondly remembered as a fan favorite. Now, Hasbro likes to reuse names, and so the name Devastator ended up in G.I. Joe. Yes, this iconic, legendary, much respected name got a second life in our toy line.
And you can probably sense where this is going.
Meet the Devastator.
Oh, how the mighty have fallen.
This toy was released in 1989 with some original parts. Yeah, it shared some parts like the gun and missiles with the Cobra hovercraft released the same year. Oh, and before we go on, I should make clear we're looking at my European version, not the original American one. The main differences are that the red parts are much lighter, almost pink even, and the tank threads are blue, not black. The differences are nothing special, it just goes to show that there are European exclusives, and then there are European exclusives.
This is a mint-on-card European exclusive Tiger Force Psych-Out. It is worth something. This Devastator really isn't worth that much.
The main thing I take away from this vehicle is that it looks like a toy.
Well, I mean, obviously, it is a toy.
But what I'm saying is that if this was a real vehicle, it would still look like a toy. It's as if a Cobra troop is riding a kid's paddle car. It's not gonna be all that intimidating when the Joes see it coming at them, now is it? And as a toy, well, it feels really flimsy thanks to the front threads and the gun. They just feel too loose and easy to move. Probably thanks to the wear and tear over time, though I remember having this as a kid, it felt even like that back then. Then there are the things that are easy to lose, like the 4 missiles it comes with or the antenna.
Yeah, antennas are the bane of my collecting existence. The one I have doesn't have one either.
And even the detailing, something I often gush about when it comes to vehicles, is lacking a bit here. The peg that connects the front track to the body is just there, plain to see. Would it have killed them to cover the hole in the mold so it's invisible? Same thing goes for the rear tracks and how they connect. If I was designing this thing, I would have made it twice as big, with room for a gunner and a driver, with a lot more detailing.
I have to struggle to find something to like here.
I guess the color scheme is okay, though I prefer the original American one. It's just a hair better. Overall, it's a dinky little thing that nobody should feel bad about not having in their collection.
And with that, we come to the character. And I gotta tell you, I'm not gonna bother to make a fake file card for this thing. Here, just look at Devastator's tech specs. Hey, I already worked really hard on that split-second Joe Mama joke.
Let's start with the name, Devastator. And let's imagine a small child on his birthday getting a huge box from Grandma, who says it's that Devastator toy he's always wanted. Only when he opens the box, this thing is in it. Christmas is ruined.
Yeah, this kid's birthday is on Christmas. Also, his grandma is a huge bitch for putting such a small toy in such a large box. Sucks to be that kid.
Anyway, this wouldn't be the last time Devastator faced humiliation.
I am directly below the enemy scrotum.
And I wasn't even talking about that. In fact, let's never talk about that again.
No, I'm talking about the time they turned him into an Action Master. Action Masters were Transformers that didn't transform. Yeah, wrap your head around that one. And they were the size of G.I.Joe figures. Talk about indignity! One of the most powerful feared Decepticons reduced to this. And this.
And yeah, I tried.
Devastator doesn't fit into the driver's seat. That would have been the ultimate humiliation. But I suppose I can't put this off any longer. I have to talk about the vehicle again. And this is where we learn the thing's full name. It's the Battlefield Robot Devastator.
Wait a minute. Is that how they justified calling this thing Devastator? Because it's a battlefield robot?
Okay, I feel the definition of robot is being stretched beyond breaking point here. Look, the term robot is so broad you can make it fit pretty much anything from humanoid mechanical beings, autonomous or piloted, to remote-controlled metal boxes with delusions of grandeur.
Still, I don't think this thing qualifies.
For me, a robot has to be autonomous, or if it has a driver, it has to look at least vaguely humanoid. This thing is neither. As for appearing in other media, well, it was featured in a commercial along with the so-called other Battlefield robots, though the ad neglects to call them that. And the Devastator did briefly appear in the Deke miniseries Operation Dragonfire. I couldn't find evidence of the thing showing up in the comic. It's possible it made a cameo here, but I'm not gonna check every issue.
Yeah, at this point, I'm eager to flesh this turd.
Honestly, I think the Devastator was created just because G.I. Joe was getting 2 Battlefield robot toys, so Cobra had to have 2 as well. In conclusion,
Meh.
the colors are okay, but really the Devastator is a bit of a waste of space. Though I honestly believe I would have been kinder to it if the thing had a different name. As it stands, it's an insult to the Transformers character, and this dinky little vehicle has no hope of even vaguely measuring up to its illustrious namesake.
I'll see you next time, everybody, and hey, why not like, share and subscribe if that's your thing. Hey, welcome to Half the Battle.
Well, last week's toy was so bad, I spent about half the time talking about Transformers instead.
So today, why not talk about a vehicle I really like?
Meet the Cobra Piranha. This vehicle was released in 1990 with all original parts. Well, it was released in America anyway.
Yeah, this toy never made it to Belgium.
It's been somewhat of a holy grail of mine, and I finally got one this year, imported from the US in, I think, February.
Then about 2 months later, I found a second one at a local flea market. I kid you not.
Yeah, weird how life works out sometimes. You spend years looking for a toy, until you just bite the bullet and order one from a dealer in the States. And then another shows up a 15-minute drive from where you live for 1/5 of the price.
Not that I'm complaining, I mean, these things are awesome.
Let's start with the design. It's very smooth, very sleek. Well, it's a speedboat, so it sorta has to be. The thing manages to look quite menacing too. This is helped by the fact it's armed to the frickin' teeth. It comes with 2 machine guns, 2 depth charges, and no less than 6 torpedoes that double as missiles if you want. That's a lot of firepower for a relatively small vehicle. For comparison, the Triple T tank has 2 guns and missiles, but it is roughly the same size. I especially like the 2 torpedoes that are tucked and hidden underneath the boat.
Now, such a large arsenal is impressive and appreciated.
But this also means that there's a lot of small parts that can get lost over time. So I feel very lucky this is a complete one. The one from the flea market isn't, but I found replacement missiles for the torpedoes that work just fine. And it's not just the torpedoes and depth charges that are easy to lose. This boat has 2 antennas that are small and removable. As we've discussed, antennas are like my kryptonite, so finding out this Piranha was complete, well, that's a bit like...
And it's complete.
I've got a feeling I'm gonna be getting a lot of use of that clip when it comes to vehicles.
Those of you familiar with the Piranha may have noticed I haven't shown one part of it yet, even though I keep hammering on that this thing is complete.
That's because the part isn't just useless, it's detrimental.
There's a clamp, thing that fits in the driver's seat. It's to hold the figure in place, but really, a figure can sit perfectly well there without it. In fact, the clamp is so tight, you risk damaging it, or the figure itself even, so you're better off leaving the thing to the side. To go back to the look of the Piranha, check out that freaking engine! Now that's huge and evokes power and speed.
It's a really nice aesthetic.
The engine also has great detailing with lots of parts showing. But it's the cockpit that really has the effort put in, with lots of controls and instruments. Honestly, for me, with the exception of the Moray hydrofoil, this is the best water vehicle Cobra ever got. And aside from the pieces that can get easily lost, like the antenna and especially the depth charges, yeah, those things don't click snugly in, so they're the first to go missing, I really can't find anything negative to say about the Piranha.
Sure makes a nice change from last week.
And that was the only toy of the Piranha ever made. The mold was reused in 1995 to create the Dragon speedboat for the Mortal Kombat line. Because when you think Mortal Kombat, you immediately think speedboat, right? The vehicle was altered somewhat. Instead of an antenna, it had a missile launcher.
Yeah, this was the mid-90s when everything needed a freaking missile launcher.
I think Barbie's Dream Horse came with one at some point. And the Piranha name was reused for a G.I.Joe vehicle in 2004 that came with Shipwreck. Overall, yeah, the Cobra Piranha is an excellent vehicle, and I really recommend it, especially if it's complete.
With that, let's talk about the character, and you know the drill by now.
The front of the box calls this a depth charge firing Sea Marauder, which is fine, but is selling it a bit short. The back of the box is selling it a bit long though.
Is that an expression? Screw it. It is now.
The back states it can sink any G.I.Joe vessel on the high seas within seconds. Yeah, I think the USS Flag might have a word or two to say about that. By the way, it's only thanks to the box and blueprints I learned these cylinders are supposed to be depth charges. I really had no idea what they were when I got the thing. Anyway, the Piranha was featured in a commercial along with the Locust helicopter, and it did show up in a few D-cartoon episodes, though nothing remarkable.
Same can be said for the comic.
It first shows up in a 2-panel cameo in issue 110, but there's not much to say. It is a pleasant surprise this small vehicle showed up at all in other media, really.
Another thing I want to talk about, the Piranha didn't come with a driver.
The box art has a range viper, but that's supposed to be a survivalist wilderness type trooper, not an aquatic one. The commercial, meanwhile, has an Undertow as the driver, but they aren't technically Cobra. Undertows were part of Destro's separate Iron Grenadier army.
So, who do I think is the best figure to pilot this beautiful boat? Well, I've actually picked one that's not from the original line.
For me, the 2003 Python Patrol Lamprey best suits this vehicle. Sure, the colors don't match precisely, but they are in the same ballpark. And since he's an aquatic-themed figure that didn't come with a vehicle, he was part of a Python Patrol figure set, it's a match made in heaven. And that was the Cobra Piranha. In conclusion,
I freaking love this thing!
it's cool, sleek, deadly, and fun. In a word, it's awesome. Hey, I like tearing awful toys a new one, but looking at great ones is a genuine pleasure. So this was a very nice episode to do.
I'll see you next time, everybody. And hey, why not like, share, and subscribe if that's your thing? Hey, welcome to Half the Battle. Today, I want to talk about something that, while it's not the worst small vehicle ever produced by Hasbro, for me, it is the most disappointing.
Let me take you back to the past, like almost 6 years ago when I made a short video about G.I.Joe Retaliation. Sadly, that video has been lost, but I still had the raw live-action footage where I said this.
Near the end of the movie, Roadblock does drive one vehicle that I haven't been able to find a toy version of, but I hope they make it. Because we want it, precious! Yes, we want it!
I was talking about this vehicle. It looked freaking awesome and I couldn't wait to get one. I looked online, since the Retaliation toy line wasn't released in Belgium, but couldn't find one, so I assumed they never made a toy.
I was wrong! It wasn't that I couldn't find the thing, it's just that I couldn't recognize the freaking toy. And that's because the finished product looked like this. What the hell is this thing even? Well, I suppose we better start this autopsy.
Meet the Threadripper tank. This vehicle was released in 2012 with sort of some original parts, I guess, depending on how you look at it. Except not really.
Yeah, right from the start, this thing is giving me a headache, because it's complicated. Strap in, I guess.
The gun and missile launcher are from an earlier HISS tank design, while the body is a heavily reworked HISS Scout tank that came out the same year. So normally you wouldn't be able to say which had the original parts, except the HISS Scout came out in Canada in 2011. So it was first. So the Threadripper has no original parts. Except again, it was so heavily reworked with a roll cage and tank treads that it sorta does.
Wow, that was a lot of words about something nobody actually cares about. Yeah, I'm just trying to avoid talking about the actual toy, because... ugh.
Let's start with the colors. Why is it baby blue? I guess they were going for light metal blue and failed completely. The green, brown, and black aren't too bad, I suppose, but like a ghost from the 90s, we've got to have neon orange in there too, don't we? With the missile itself. Thankfully, it's removable. As for the design of the toy,
it is flawed. Severely flawed.
To the point where you think Homer Simpson was on the design team for this thing. Homer as a Hasbro designer or as an actual military contractor building this thing, either way works. The mental image, I mean, certainly not the vehicle itself. The biggest problems are with the weapons. They are so close together they interfere with each other's movements, so they only really work if they're pointed in the same direction, which defeats the purpose of having them be able to swivel independently.
Also, they just look wrong, you know?
Due to the tank threads and the roll cage going in an upward angle, it looks like the weapons are pointing at the ground. Now, I thought this was purely a small optical illusion, but no, they really are angled downwards just a little bit, so unless the target is right in front of them, they end up shooting in the ground. And despite what the look of the weapons may have you believe, they don't swivel up. This molding, that makes it look like there are swivel joints there, are in fact solid plastic, so they're stuck in that position.
Outside of the weapons, there's another design flaw on the back of the toy.
It has a footpeg for a figure to stand on, a holdover from the Hiss mold no doubt, but the roll cage part covers it so that no figure can actually use it, so it's completely useless.
So now we've looked at the colors and the design, but what about the overall look of the toy?
Simply put, it looks ugly, cheap, and flimsy. And most annoyingly, it barely resembles the vehicle from the movie. Compare this to, say, the Night Raven or truck from the Rise of Cobra movie that did resemble the movie versions, and you wonder how the hell this toy was greenlit. Now, surprisingly, for such a small toy, it did come with a driver.
Though, honestly, I wish they hadn't bothered.
An action figure of Clutch was included. Now, normally, I'd save this for my eventual Clutch review, but really, it deserves mention here. For one thing, it barely resembles Clutch, apart from having a beard. I guess it does look like what a movie version of Clutch could look like, maybe? Though, it still looks less G.I.Joe, and more Montana survivalist Doomsday Planner. For another thing, like other Retaliation vehicle drivers, Hasbro didn't feel that this figure needed all that much articulation. So, unlike most G.I. Joe figures, it lacks joints in the elbows and knees, and only has limited articulation in the thighs to save money. They apparently also saved money in the quality assurance department, since the bloody guy can't even stand up straight. Yeah, try it and he'll keep falling. You have to pose him hunched over to keep him standing.
Hell, this whole ensemble is a monument to Hasbro's penny pinching.
Limited movement on the figure, and the vehicle has most of its parts reused from previous vehicles. Uncle Scrooge would be proud. Back to Clutch, there's one more thing I want to mention. He has a small backpack, one that's molded onto the figure itself, so you can't remove it. And from the Department of Redundancy department, the molded-on backpack has itself a hole to plug another backpack in. Yeah, it looks as stupid as you imagined. And now he's really got that Hunchback of the Notre Dame thing going on.
These toys overall are just really poor.
The only nice thing I can say about them is, well, there's some very nice detailing on the inside of the tracks. But that's about it.
With that, let's briefly look at the character, shall we?
First of all, it's called the Threadripper Tank. Okay, if that thing qualifies as a tank, then I qualify as a world-famous YouTuber. Call me old-fashioned, but a tank should have some sort of armor plating, shouldn't it? And also, you know, not completely expose the driver to enemy fire.
Also, what the hell does Threadripper even mean?
It rips tire threads? Well, the thing itself has no tires to rip, it has tank treads, but ripping them would be a bad thing, no? Does it rip the treads of other tanks, maybe? I mean, that would explain why the weapons point downward, I suppose. But then, wouldn't the thing be called the Tank Thread Ripper? It's just confusing. There isn't anything more to learn from the box, really. And of course, its only other significant appearance in media was in the movie Retaliation.
Where it kicked friggin' ass!
Seriously, I loved the scenes with this thing in the movie. And then there's the toy. Why? If you compare them, this doesn't even look like a G.I. Joe toy, but a freaking knockoff. In conclusion, this toy is such a wasted opportunity.
Hasbro, I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
Well, time seems to have beaten us again, as summer is drawing to a close, so for now, we're done with small vehicles and playsets. September is now upon us, and why not start by giving you, my viewers, what you want? All 1,000+ of you.
The next review will be of a cartoon episode, and it's one that's been requested the most over all these years. And don't bother requesting something now in the comments, as this one is set in stone. Well, I'll see you next time, everybody, and hey, why not like, share and subscribe if that's your thing.